Okay, good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining us. Today, we're going to go through our monthly webinar. We do this about once a year, which is great. We should do it early in the year, as we usually have a lot of new clients coming on in January. So today, we're going to talk about managing employees within isolved. This is kind of employee management 101, we've called it before. Hopefully, this will give you a good idea of exactly all the things that you can do that you may already know or may not know about how to set up employees, configure employees, all of the other tools and features of the system. And hopefully, we'll learn something new today. So, we'll go through adding employees, terminating employees, doing self-service management. We're going to talk about some of the more advanced things like updating pay rates, direct deposit, adjusting their taxes if there's any workers' comp. We'll go through a bunch of things. We'll just kind of go down through the menu and show you exactly what each screen does and how it works. And then we'll go over some resources at the end. Uh, and we'll be able to go through some of that. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll begin. All right. So once you get logged into isolved here, we're going to primarily be working in the employee management and the employee admin tools menus today. So I'm going to just start really quickly by going to Quick Hire. Okay. So when we go to Quick Hire, this is where you're going to go and to set your employees up for the first time. So you're not using new employee onboarding, which is paperless onboarding, which we do have as an option. We're not going to talk about that today. That webinar will come a little bit later in the year. So be sure to sign up for that. But certainly if you have questions about paperless onboarding, please let us know and we can talk through that as well. So if you've got W-4 paperwork, direct deposit forms, paper that you need to get an employee set up in the system, this is where you're going to go, is to Quick Hire. Okay. So when you come in here, make sure you choose your company. Some of you may have multiple companies that you are managing. So make sure you choose the right company, of course. Then we want to make sure that we're setting up their hire date. Now, hire date is important for many reasons, certainly from a technical perspective, but especially for benefits, enrollment, and so forth. And that's really important, especially if you're doing ACA. Hire date becomes even more important. So you want to make sure you do that. The other thing that you may run into is if you don't choose the right hire date, the system may not pay your employee. Okay. So if you're just adding an employee today and you want to run payroll today for Friday, if you choose today's date and the pay period was last week, the system is not going to pay your employee because they think they haven't started yet. Okay. So be sure to actually put the actual day that they started working. Right. So we're going to go ahead there, put our hire date in there. If you have an adjusted service date, so if this is a rehire or something like that, you can use that as a secondary date. Employment category, of course, is important as well, especially if you have ACA reporting or benefits tracking that you may need to keep track of. Now, certainly we can create multiple employment categories if you'd like. In this example, we have full and part-time, but if you had a seasonal or a student, something like that, that you wanted to keep track of separately, we certainly can keep track of those as well. So I'm going to put this person as full-time. Moving right on down the list, we're going to ask for their ID type, which 99% of the time is going to be a social security number. Okay, we just put that in. Certainly, you can use the little I to see that you've put it in correctly, right? We want to make sure that we are using official documents. If we can get a social security card, that's wonderful. We verify these, as otherwise we're going to have tax issues potentially. So keep an eye on that, okay? Then we can come down here and we can come put our names in there, put a middle initial, so forth. We can put their email address in there. When we do that and we enable self-service, this is going to fire off their access to my HR stuff and the isolved mobile app. Okay. So want to make sure you're putting those in there so that employees have access to all of that, to their pay stubs, direct deposits, so forth within there as well. If you want, you can put a marital status in there, and we can just put addresses in here as well. Filling that information there. Phone numbers, if you want to put those in there. We do require birthdays. These are especially important because of the retirement mandates that are coming out. And we do require gender, as because those are required on some of the federal tax, the state tax forms that we have to file as well. So we want to put those in there. Okay. Moving right down the list here, we're going to ask about salary and pay information. So we're going to choose the pay group, which generally most people only have one pay group. Weekly, right? We're going to have our pay type. Are they hourly? Are they salary? How does that work? If they're 1099, lots of different options here for you to choose. I'm going to just put them in as hourly for right now. If you wanted, you can adjust their normal hours. It's going to default to 40 based on their weekly normal hours. Certainly you can adjust that if you want. Then you can put their hourly rate in here. When you tab through that, it's going to automatically estimate and adjust their annual salary and their per pay salary. Now, these are hourly employees, so whatever hours you enter is going to be there, but there are certain reports and things like that that will generate with an estimated annual employee salary, right? So if you're looking for a benefits census and they are looking for their annual salary, it's going to take that, use those normal hours, and that's what these fields are looking for, okay? I'm going to scroll back up for just a second. We'll look at some of the other things on the top here, okay? So if you have any organizational tracking that you're doing for departments, for example, we can put those in here. If you're doing job tracking or other things, we can keep track of those as well. Workers' comp, if you're using our workers' comp reporting or integration, those codes will show as well. This is their default workers' comp code, okay? So we can certainly add those codes in there with you and your insurance agent. We're working with everybody on those. And this will give you workers' comp reporting at the end of the year. And certainly if you're doing pay-as-you-go workers' comp through us, then we can manage that through here as well. If you're doing manager or supervisor access, where your managers are logging in to view time cards or anything like that, you can assign a manager to this employee, okay? There is the ability for managers to log in and do certain functions. We're not going to cover all of that today, but that is an option as well. Work location is especially important. We will have a webinar, I think it's in June, talking about remote employee compliance, okay? So if you have employees working outside of your normal locations, you probably need to set up different work locations, and the taxes and so forth may be different depending on the states and jurisdictions in which they're living and working, okay? If there are other rules here, those would fill in. In this situation, there are not. So then we're going to look at their federal filing status. So you have their W-4, hopefully. We can fill in their single, married, otherwise. These forms, there's no more single zero, single one, et cetera, with the federal W-4. If you've looked at in the last couple of years, essentially 99% of employees are just going to do single or married filing separately, married filing jointly, or head of household. There's three options. Most employees are not filling in dependent amount, other income amount, or deduction amounts, okay? They may say, hey, I want to have $5 extra taken out every week, and you can do that there, okay? In this situation, we're going to look at the state of Maine. Again, we're going to kind of put in that. This still is the single zero, single one, so make sure you're having them fill out their W-4s for the state of Maine as well, and we can put those in there, same thing, if they wanted their exemptions and any additional amounts. These fields can also be percentages as well. So if you wanted to say an employee said, I want a specific percentage, they could have that as well. Now, I will tell you that that's very specific and very uncommon. So just keep an eye on that. Tax exemptions, unless you know what you're doing, please do not touch this tax exemption box. This is for your foreign labor, J1s, H2Bs, clergy, anybody that has special tax treatment, which the majority of you do not. So please do not touch this tax exemption unless you know what you're doing and have talked to us, okay? Then there's some just tracking information. Do we have the I-9 on file? Are they a veteran? This will help with some reporting if you need to use it. Most folks are leaving this blank, but it's there if you want to track. If we move back down to the bottom, we have their primary rate of pay. We also have alternate rates of pay. So if you have alternate rates of pay set up in the system, you can set those up on this quick hire screen. Again, this is most common in the hospitality industry, but there's the ability to set up alternate rates there as well. Last, we have direct deposit down at the bottom. You can add as many direct deposit fields as you want. I think the most I've seen is 8 or 9, but you can come in here and add as many rows as you'd like. We can come in, we're going to choose active. We're going to say this is a checking account. The sequence always trips people up, okay? So the sequence, if we think about it, we're going to say the first thing I want to do is send $50 to my account, okay, to this account. Then I'm going to do another row, and I'm going to say I'm going to do 2. We're going to add 3 direct deposits here, okay? So we're going to do a second thing in the sequence, and we're going to say I need $10 to go to this account. Lastly, we can come in and say I want the remaining, whatever's left, to go to this account. Okay? So that's the sequence, 1, 2, 3. Most of the time, folks are just doing one account, and it would just be The remaining net is what's there. So everything in their check is going to go to this account. Okay, that's how it would work. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and this employee is going to get added. If we put their email in there, they would automatically get fired off that email to get logged into self-service and my HR stuff and the isolved app. And that's really important for them. And we'll go over some troubleshooting on that in just a moment. So moving on down the menu here, we're going to go to employee maintenance. You may be working in here a bit. The employee maintenance screen will allow you to pick any employee, right? So we can come in here and I want to take a look at Carla and we can edit her basic information. Okay, so a lot of the stuff we just saw on that quick hire screen is also going to show up here. This is the general tab, all right? You could change these update addresses. If you need to update the social, you can come in here. We just do update social and put that in there. Now, I will tell you, please let us know if you're updating socials. That may impact if we've done W-2s and so forth. So please don't just change those blindly. Let us know if you've done that so we can review them, okay? Again, basic information. If someone needs to get activated for self-service, you can come in, put their email in, and send them, okay? When someone leaves, when someone terminates, I'm going to go ahead and terminate an employee. There's this active and inactive box. Please don't use those. What we really want to do is we want to terminate this employee. Terminating them creates a record on the date that they terminated. It also allows you to prorate salaries if those are applicable potentially, and it helps terminate benefits. And if and when they return, you may want to keep track of that termination date and the hire date for benefits eligibility, ACA eligibility, and so forth. So hiring and terminating are really important, okay? We're going to choose their termination date. What was their last date of working? We have a default list of termination reasons. We certainly can update this at any time if you need to add a specific thing. So we have some seasonal clients that like to have a status in there as seasonal, yes, we'd welcome them back. Seasonal, no, we won't welcome them back. For example, we can add different reasons in there for you. If you are using benefits, it will show you the termination date of any of those benefits, which will get reported off to your benefits carrier for using integrations on that, okay? This termination report is a really handy report that I'm running here. This shows you everything about this employee that you may need to know to terminate them. So, and this is just our demo, but if they had assets that you'd given them, so think if you've given them keys or laptops or cell phones or anything like that, it will list, and you're keeping track of those, of course, it will list those there. So we know we need to get those back. They have reoccurring earnings like a cell phone reimbursement or something like that. Those will show. Deductions, garnishments, their leave accruals, right? If they have PTO that you need to pay out or not, those will show as well. And any upcoming balances that you're going to delete will all show. So this report's really handy for you to take a look at. Now, we have this report, and we're talking about just terminating a regular employee. Now, I will also tell you we have electronic offboarding as well, which is, again, we'll talk about in a later webinar. That goes with the electronic onboarding. So there's some process that you can put in place to help you terminate these employees. For now, I'm just going to do this the manual way, and we're going to hit save. Now, Carla is terminated as of this effective date. She will no longer get paid after that date. All of her benefits will terminate, and she'll be in that status for us. So we know exactly when she's going. Okay, that's our general screen. Moving on down here, we have the employment. This will show their employment records over time. So if they come and go, you can see exactly what their effective dates were and so forth. Again, if you're using ACA, we'll show our ACA status, what's been determined. Usually that's driven by that employment status or employment category on that general screen. We can also, again, look at more history here, when they were activated, when they were terminated, and this will show you the full history. If you are doing any location or percent distributions, you can come in here and say, okay, I need to split this employee's wages between this location and this location. So this is work locations. So if they're spending half their time in Maine and half their time in Massachusetts, we can split these up in that situation so taxes are done. What I will tell you is more common is to do a percent distribution. So if you have a salaried employee, for example, you can come in here and say, okay, their primary department is delivery, but I want 25% of their wage to go to production, okay? So now, when I go in there, it's going to show me they're going to get 75% of their wages are going to be split to delivery, 25% into production, so that when we are when we're running our labor allocation reports or anything else, or if there's wages tied to that or workers' comp tied to those departments, you will automatically be put into that as well. So there's certainly different allocations we can do. Moving on down to the organization screen, this is their primary department, okay? If there were other organizational fields, so sometimes it's division, sometimes it's location, department, job, those are the most common ones, but any type of organizational field that we can create for you would show up here. This will be their primary department. So I could move them to their primary department, and that will change them. If you are setting folks up as a manager, you can do that at an organizational level. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because the supervisor manager stuff is a little complicated, but you can set Carla up to oversee everyone in the delivery department, for example, one fell swoop rather than assigning each employee to that. The miscellaneous fields, we don't have any in this demo, but if there are miscellaneous fields you need to keep track of things, you can do that. During COVID, we were, when everyone was panicking that employers over 50 were going to have to keep track of vaccination status and so forth, we were using miscellaneous fields to track that. And we were creating reports based on those miscellaneous fields. So anything that's available you want to track, we can add miscellaneous fields in any type or category to suit those needs. Before I move on, I want to just talk about a little bit about general navigation. So I've terminated Carla, and as you've seen, I'm moving down through the screens and I'm still working on Carla, right? I can arrow back and forth through the different people, and it will show me. Now I'm on, I'm on Robert's record, and I want to go to his general tab, and I am on him, right? If I want to search, I can certainly search for someone as well, and it will come up with that information and bring me right to their record. And again, I can always go back to my list, and I can see everybody in my list. And I can go right in there, and now I can come back to navigating screen to screen to screen. Okay. Salary screen. So this is where the money happens, right? So we encourage everybody to be adding salary records. As you can see in this situation, you can see all of the salary increases that this employee has received over the last year, okay? Now, if we come in here and we can do a future change, so we're going to say on February 26th, they're going to get this raise, okay? And we can come in there and either put a percentage increase, tab over, we can put an annual salary increase amount, automatically fix that. And now we can add that in there on the 26th when that payroll's run, it will be in there, okay? Moving on down, if employees have alternate rates of pay, if they have an overnight rate or an alternate rate, something like that, you can set those in here. So lots of functionality you can do at different rates. Tax information. So just as you saw on the quick hire screen, you can adjust their tax information. Everything looks exactly the same. Again, work location becomes really important if they are working in a different state than your primary location. So please keep that in mind. If there are additional states or other taxes and so forth that you need consideration on, certainly we can add those in here for those situations as well. When we go to the earnings screen, so an earnings screen can be a couple of different things. This could be where you put a cell phone stipend, for example. Every pay, we're going to give them $10 for their cell phone. Or once a month, we are going to give them a cell phone stipend. Something like that would go in here, and you could keep track of those every single time. This situation, we have a differential. That's how that's based on this for that overnight. And there's programming the back side that allows you to manage those differentials. We usually set those up. When we go to the deduction screen, this is going to give us all of our deductions for our employees. So we can come in here and say, hey, we gave this employee an advance, okay? We put in, $50 they need to pay us back every week, okay? We can also do all of our dental, vision, all that fun stuff. So if we needed to change this amount, we just come in here, put that in, and save, and it's effective. You can certainly also use those start and end dates if you like, but these are very easy to change. If you have new deductions or new earnings that need to be set up, please let us know and we'll take care of those. Garnishments. So again, if you receive garnishments generally are bigger than a bread box. So please send us your garnishments, send those to your payroll processor. We will set those up for you to make sure they're set up correctly and they go appropriately. Memo calculations are generally employer matches. So I really like to put what the company pays on the employee's pay stub. So we can say, hey, the employer is paying $200 a week for your health insurance. That will show up on their pay stub. So when they look at it, they can say, gosh, I only put in $12 this week, but my employer put in $200. And then at the end of the year, you can pull an earnings statement that says this is what your total full in salary really was. This was your all your benefits, all of your pay, any reimbursements, all that fun stuff will show, and you can see what their fully loaded wage was, which is really nice to look at through the year. There are the 401k matches you do not have to set up. Those are set up on the back end when we build your retirement plans in the system. So you wouldn't want to edit those, but those will automatically calculate. Our direct deposit screen, it works very similar to how the screen looks on the quick hire screen, right? It's all the same theory. You can add as many of these as you like. All right. Moving on down here, we have some human resources features. So certainly if you have assets, right? So we have issued a cell phone and a laptop to Aaron. So when you terminate them, this will show up on that termination report. So you can get those back, okay? We certainly can add in any emergency contacts as well. That's available. Employee documents, you can upload employee documents. You can have a completely full employee file electronically. You can add those in here, build them all out. You can choose whether the employee or employee or managers have access to those or not. We can build in any different type of custom document tracking that you want. You can create a full electronic file, okay? Similarly, employee notes, you can come in here and track that. Anything you might want to put in here in terms of that, you can do. I've seen some folks record absences or late to work or things like that. Anything they want to keep track of can be put in here in notes. If it's important to you, you can keep track of their prior employment. There's some very basic performance management that's in here. One of them is occurrences, and we've set those up we have set those up in the past. Typically, that's something like the employee is late for work or something like that. We can build those occurrences in. There are points values that can be assigned to those occurrences, and certainly different things that we can do to manage that. There's a very basic section of reviews management in here. We do need to build that out for you, but certainly that's something that's there as well. And certainly you can put in any awards that they may have received in the month or anything like that. So all this tracking is available for you as well. There's some regulatory tracking. I'm not going to go through these. We did have a client ask us about OSHA incident tracking. That is available. You can put your OSHA incidents in here and run your OSHA reports at the end of the month, end of the quarter, whenever you might need to do those. Work opportunity tax credit certification, that is in here as well. We just started to do some reporting on that for clients as well. Training and development. So we like to use the certifications a lot. So this is really popular with our cannabis clients. All their employees have to be licensed with the state. So we can go in here and say, yep, okay, here's this certification. It's effective this date, expires this date. And I'll show you in a minute where you can look at some dashboards to see exactly when certifications expire and so forth. We can also fire off some email alerts and things like that with those as well. So, skipped over employee benefits. Employee benefits is its own world, but I will talk about accruals because that's very common. So we go to employee benefits, accruals, and leave accruals. This is your PTO policy, right? So you can come in here and add a PTO policy based on the rules that we've built. You can update the balance. I will tell you, updating the balance does not update it until the next regular payroll, okay? So you can put, I could go in here and put 50, but if the employee logs in before you run the next payroll, it's not going to do that. And you probably want to put some notes in there too. We see a lot of folks that say, hey, Johnny started for me and we made a deal where we were going to give him 2 weeks of vacation instead of 1. You can override those rates and they will earn at a different rate as well. Okay? The accrual balance history screen, we use this to troubleshoot an awful lot. This tells you their starting, ending balances, what they've taken, what they've used, what they've accrued, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for every payroll that has been run. If there's notes that were entered in there, you can see there was a balance update, and you can go look those up as well. So accruals are certainly something that we deal a lot with, and those are available in there as well. So I'm going to scoot down to the employee admin tools. Certainly looking, we have some I-9 management. So if you want to do E-Verify integration, or you're looking to do all of your I-9 verifications and audits in here, all those tools are available for you as well. We have the pending employees screen. That's for new hire onboarding. Again, we'll talk about that at a different webinar, because that's a whole different subject that takes a little bit of time. But I want to point out the self-service management. Okay, so this is where you can troubleshoot your employees' login issues. If they're having a hard time logging into My HR Stuff or the isolved app, you can come in here and see exactly the status of everybody. All right. So if folks, all these people don't have emails, right? So we need to go in there and go pull up their emails and put them in. Okay. So that's really important to know. If you have to enable access to a large group of people, you can come in here, enable and process. If there are people that have not yet signed up and you want to resend them their activation, those will be listed here, and you can send those and process as well. So this allows you, we do this every once in a while, where we'll just go in and resend these activation emails out to a bunch of people as well. So that's really, really helpful for self-service. When we go to analytics, we have anniversaries. So I can see all my anniversaries in January, for example. I can see all of my August, or I can see the next 7 days or the next month, things like that. So I can see all anniversaries. The nice thing in all these grids, you can see in the top right, we can export these to Excel. So you can manipulate these however you like, which is really nice. Similarly, we have birthdays. I want to see all my birthdays in August, for example, right? So you can see those if you're doing anything like that. Here's our certifications dashboard. So this shows us we have some certifications coming due. This one's not due till November, so we're okay in this. But these you can filter and sort and so forth. And again, with the certifications, we have the ability to run some reporting. There's alerts and so forth that go along with the certifications as well. Really helpful. Documents on file. So if you are using the employee document storage tool and you want to see, hey, does everybody have an I-9 on file? I can see, I want to see, basically include employees with no results. I want to see, let's see, got something here. I can see it contains, doesn't contain, so forth. I want to see only active employees. So essentially, these folks do not have an I-9 on file. So we need to go do that, right? I want to see who does have an I-9 on file. Nobody. So we got to work on that. So if you're using that, this tool is really helpful to see what is available on here. Emergency contacts. Again, this is where you can see everyone's emergency contact at a glance. And again, this is something you can export to Excel. So that's something really nice. Our employee salary hourly list. This is really nice, especially when minimum wage goes up at the beginning of the year. For our restaurant folks, we use this dashboard a lot. And this allows you to come in here and see, all right, here's my hourly rate, here's the minimum wage. Are they hourly, are they salary? Let's look at this at a glance. I want to see everybody's wages. And that gives you that ability here. My hires and terms, we can come in here. I want to see all my new hires in this period, right? Maybe I need to do some benefits enrollment. Maybe I need to do something else with my new hires. I want to do 90-day review, something like that. You can go in and run that dashboard. Same thing with termination. I want to go see all my terminations last month because I need to make sure I cancel their benefits, right? Really easy dashboards to use. Managerial assignments. If you are using managers, you can go in here and see who their manager is, right? So if they have access to see them, here it is. And same thing with that certification dashboard. If you're doing training that expires for whatever reason, say we need to do our sexual harassment training, we need to do whatever, we can come see when those are expired. I will sneak really quickly into employee self-service. I want to just show you a couple things. These are management type tools. If someone comes to you and says, I want to see my pay stubs, I need my pay stubs, I got to go to the bank and get a mortgage. It's sometimes easiest for you as an admin to come into employee self-service and go to pay history and pull those. You can print these pay stubs right here from the black action bar. Okay. These, I certainly encourage you every time to push back on them and say, you have access to the app and My HR Stuff to get these yourself, and as you should. I will remind everybody, direct deposit fraud, payroll fraud is real. We are seeing it every single day. If your employees are emailing you, asking you to change their direct deposits, say no, or pick up the phone and call them, ask them. Do not trust their emails. There is email scams everywhere. We just had one last week where someone's email had been hacked. They were using Gmail. They did not have two-factor authentication turned on, and their email had been hacked. They emailed the HR manager, said, hey, I want to change my email to this different email. They had set up another Gmail account. The HR manager went in, changed their email, sent them that activation. That scammer got that employee's entire profile. They could see all their pay stubs. They could see their social. They could see their bank accounts. And then they changed their bank account to their account, to the scammer's account. And they lost $1,300. So direct deposit fraud is real. Pick up the phone, call these people, make sure they are real. Do not change anything without actually talking to someone because it is happening more and more and more. And these scammers are getting more and more and more sophisticated. So again, push back on the employees, let them get their information themselves, make them change their direct deposit themselves, and so forth. But certainly, if you need to, here's the best way to get that. Same thing with W-2s. If you're doing W-2s and they need a copy of it, these are the best two places to get it. It's the pay history and the W-2. So before we hop off here, we've covered a lot of the employee management stuff here. I like to try to keep these to about a half an hour. I know everyone's time is valuable, but I want to just show a few resources. I want to remind you about the isolved University. So if you click your name and log into the university here, you can come in and go and get a multitude of articles and classes at your fingertips, okay? Any screen that you may be on, so if we're on the salary screen, for example, you can see a help link in the top right. This will bring you to articles about this screen or somewhere it thinks you should do. So if you have a question about how the salary screen works, you can click on that. We'll bring you to the help documents in the university for you to see exactly how to come in here and manage this screen, okay? Within the university, there are tons of courses and classes that you can come in and take. We certainly recommend a lot of these employee 101 classes within here, a lot of the stuff we've already talked about today. There are course paths. So if you want to be a payroll expert, so we have our certification journey for payroll. There's 10 courses in there that will walk you through a lot of different things in here as well. So lots and lots and lots of resources here for you to be using. Okay. Our usual reminder, so there's lots and lots of resources on our website. If you go to papertrails.com/resources, there are all the forms that you could need. We have our blog, we have our ebooks, we have everything on there that you can need. Certainly, if you've signed up for our webinar, you probably have been to that section of the website before. As a reminder, we now have the iSolve People Cloud mobile app. So this is in addition to myhrstuff.com, works very similarly. The app does allow for Face ID and fingerprint login, so that's a really nice new feature as well on those. It's just a little more native rather than just using the website. So that's really, really nice. We are launching a podcast. So the Small Business Big World podcast. So we are launching March 5th. I would really love if everyone could subscribe, like us. We're on all the social media platforms. We're on all the podcast platforms. Go ahead, like, follow, share, rate, subscribe, all those fun things. We have some really great articles to help our clients get through a great episode, excuse me. We're going to launch on March 5th with real world DEI considerations, so diversity considerations for employers on March 5th. We're also going to do kind of a twofer on that day. We're going to have Graham, who's our social media and video marketing guy. We're going to do an episode with him to talk about social media and video marketing. We have episodes already recorded on how to buy your business, how to sell a business, insurance basics. Why is my health insurance so expensive? We have lots and lots and lots of great content coming up with a lot of great partners that we work with as well. So please be sure to subscribe to that. Our next webinar next month, we have a guest coming. Art Boulay of Strategic Talent Management is going to join us, and we're going to talk about how to conduct a successful interview. So just as we kind of try to do these more technology-based webinars, we are going to do a little bit of a regular HR kind of webinar. So this will be really good, some tips and tricks on how to get your best candidates on board for success. Happy to take any questions. The chat is open, Q&A. Certainly feel free. I know we've talked about a lot of information in a relatively short period of time. So if you need a few minutes to think about this, certainly feel free to reach out to your payroll processor or anyone on our team. And we're happy to go into anything more in depth that you have. But I'm happy to take any questions you might have right now as well. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We will talk to you again next month.